G'day guys, it's Timbo here from the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I am here in the studio awaiting my next guest, who is Nicholas Lynch. He's a gun real estate agent and he is going to talk to us about how to nail something we're all very scared of, which is sales. So it's going to be a discussion around that. He's also built a very successful real estate business in its own right. We're going to ask him about how he's done that and basically have a laugh along the way. You know what I mean? That's the nature of the Small Business Big Marketing Show, isn't it? Now, here is the thing. Nicholas was meant to be here at 10:40. It's 10:57. I hate lateness. I hate lateness. But that's life. He didn't want to park the Lamborghini in a place where it was going to get scratched. So he had to, he spent some time trying to find a car park. Anyway, he will be here shortly. I thought we'd go live now so you can see a little bit of behind the scenes before the interview starts. This is actually, for those of you who don't know, the Small Business Big Marketing Show is a podcast, and it is a place where I get to share marketing ideas of my own, of my guests, with you who are most likely, quite possibly, if you're following me, a small business owner. This is the studio where I do it. I don't do all my interviews out of here. Sometimes I do them at home. This is not my home. This would be quite luxurious, wouldn't it, if it was? I'm in at 3AW, which is a talkback radio station in Melbourne. I don't broadcast on 3AW, but I get to use the studios here. So it's quite exciting. It means that we get good sound. So stand by. It's 10:58 now. He's almost 20 minutes late. Breathe. Everything's going to be okay. He's a good guy. This guy knows sales and selling better than most. He sold a house for me once and I watched him. He was an absolute machine. So hopefully he'll be here very shortly. Otherwise it's just going to be you and I talking, shooting the breeze, you know. Yeah. Good day? Having a good day? Good. Me too. If you've got any questions, I can tell you. That's a mic. That's a microphone. Where's it say on air? It doesn't say on air. We will be on air shortly. It's working, right? Ronnie. Hello, Ronnie. I can see you there. Good on you, mate. Oh, yes. Well, I'm going to go out and find out where he is. Not that that's going to be much help because I can't hurry him. As I said, I'm about to interview Nicholas Lynch, who is an impressive real estate agent and a bloke who isn't shy of selling. Many of us are scared of the sales process. This bloke isn't, and he's going to explain exactly how he's come to be like that. He's going to talk about a thing called the close. How do you close them? He's going to talk about a thing called ABC, which is always be closing. And he's going to talk about how he's built a pretty successful little real estate agent in his own right. As I said, he's running late, now exactly 20 minutes late because he didn't want to park the Lamborghini in the city where it's going to get scratched. Use that joke twice now, no more. But we'll get going shortly. At least you get to see a little bit of behind the scenes, which is really unexciting. You know, it's just me sitting around in an empty room waiting for people to interview. So if you're in town, let's look out onto Collins Street there. If you're in town, come on down and I can interview you. I don't know what about. Just did a really interesting interview before this one with a guy called Mark Phillips, who is him and his wife Linda, they're digital nomads, and they literally have no fixed address. They travel the world running a very serious consulting business, generating hundreds of thousands of dollars in turnover with very little overheads. They live in a tent, they have a four-wheel drive, they have a motorbike, a dog, they're in their 50s, and they're, as I said, running a very serious consulting business with about 15 clients all over the world. And I had a chat to him about an hour ago. That'll be over on smallbusinessbigmarketing.com in, I reckon, possibly next week, next Tuesday, if not the Tuesday after. But what a fascinating business that fellow is running. you know, from anywhere. When I interviewed him this morning, he was sitting on a beach in Rockhampton overlooking Dunk Island. What about that? And, you know, I think afterwards he was about to go and do, you know, like a $10,000 deal or something. So that's the funny thing about the business world these days. We can operate from anywhere. It's a flat world, and technology, the internet, I think this internet thing is here to stay, just between you and I, has enabled so many different ways of doing business than just being locked in an office. So it's kind of exciting in itself. If you have just tuned in, it's Timbo here from the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I'm sitting in the studio waiting for my next guest to arrive. We're going to be doing a face-to-face interview. He will be sitting there. I will be sitting here. His name is Nicholas Lynch, and I am going to be grilling him on, first of all, why he's now 23 minutes late, and also then we're going to embark on really solid discussion around selling, a topic, a marketing topic that I think many small business owners shy away from, and including me. You know, love marketing. Marketing's very good at generating warm leads. Selling is a different point altogether, particularly when you're a one-man show. I find it, you know, don't mind talking about myself, but or to myself right now, because really the only person in the room, the only other person in the room, and I have no idea why this is in the studio, but is that thing. It's like, that's a Santa. Like, what is that doing in the studio? I don't know. But yeah, it is. I don't even know what I was talking about then. Lost my train of thought. I shouldn't have gone live so early. Who else have we got there? Hey, g'day Grant, Emily, hey, Paulo, Emily, Paulo. Love you guys, hey? Wish I could be more entertaining. I could be doing like a dance, but I'm not very good at dancing. I played the theme song to my podcast. I probably could strike a beat, but that ain't going to happen. So we are waiting for my next guest for the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I reckon the battery on my phone, here he comes, will run out before the guest arrives, but he's actually here. I'll get really cross with him as he walks in, hey, because he's late. He's 25 minutes late. Yeah, no worries, mate. Hey, you're late for all you're late for all your clients, or how are you, brother? Give us a hug.
Don't be too hard on me. You nick me out.
That's unbelievable.
What's that?
How late you are.
What time was I meant to be here?
Oh, at 22.
Half an hour ago.
Half an hour, yeah, 25 minutes ago, it looks like.
How hard is it to get a park up here?
I don't know, maybe you leave earlier.
I went around the bloody block 20 times.
Leave earlier.
You know, I apologise.
Buddy, that's your seat.
Right.
That is your water. Well, it's actually vodka, because I knew you'd need a little something to... Wow, probably don't slurp into the microphone.
Oh. This is good. Sorry to muck you around.
That's all right. You met Steve?
We had a chat.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good.
This is a studio.
Yeah.
It's a microphone. So, you comfortable?
This is good. Oh, yeah.
You can lower it, because you're pretty short, so you might want to kind of...
Oh. We sponsor RWP, which is the Mornington Peninsula radio station. Yeah. So, I have a little segment.
That's going, Steve.
Okay, I'm just gonna...
Yeah, I didn't know that. You got a segment on it.
Yeah, it's just a real estate wrap up for the month. And I just, it's all voluntary there. And
good market?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
We'll talk about that.
You normally get the oldies.
That's Facebook Live there, mate. I've been talking about you. I've had it going for about the last 15 minutes, kind of bagging you as to why you're so late.
Well, when you've got a Lamborghini, you don't want to park it.
Oh, here we go.
You don't want to park it straight in, because doors will hit it. You've got to get the proper...
Good. He's good. You're renting it for the day, are you? You're renting it for the day. So, buddy, Nicholas,
right,
before we
start... We're on air.
Well, we're not yet.
Right.
But before you start, if you see me doing that, it just means that come closer to the mic.
Yeah.
You want to be about that distance,
yes.
Right? If you're sort of back here going, yeah, look, Timbo, we're going to lose you. Steve will give you a little bit of a tap on the shoulder as well. Phone off.
Phone's...
Or at least on silent. Yeah. Won't vibrate.
No. This is good.
It's good, mate. We'll have some fun. Got a list of questions here to grill you. Don't try and read them upside down. I'll keep my powder dry. The show's called the Small Business Big Marketing Show. So the nature of it is that we're talking to small business owners, right? You know.
I've got an agenda.
Oh, here we go. He's got an agenda. So I just hit record and I'll head out for a coffee.
No,
Hey?
I'll get it onto my agenda. It's good.
I
It's good.
can't wait. All right.
It's going to be like a fight in the Matrix, you know? The whole floor's
He's got an agenda. I haven't had a guest actually eyeball me prior to starting saying I've got an agenda.
Oh,
I've got an agenda too. It's about 10 points.
Right.
So let me start by asking you, what do you love about selling?
I think I love the... What do I love? I love... I think I love...
I've
people.
stumped him.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
absolutely stumped
Yeah,
him.
you stumped me, yeah.
Do you not like it?
No, of course I love it. I think it's achieving something for someone. It's having people feel good. You know, when you... Like I'm in real estate sales, I relate it to houses. When someone achieves the result and you do it in a... I think it can be stressful for people. So if you can achieve it with minimal stress and get the outcome.
And sure enough, the phone goes. I thought I had it on Do Not Disturb. So, okay, that's in the context of real estate, being a real estate agent. But is that the true answer around? I mean, do you just love to sell? Could you sell anything?
I think no.
Right.
No, I couldn't. No, I think you can only sell what you love and what you really know. Like I know my product. Yeah. And I love it, and I can sell it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got five key ingredients to being a great salesperson.
Here's the agenda, is it?
And,
Let me
this
just
is
write
my
that down.
agenda.
Just 5 key ingredients. Oh, that's great because I do. Yeah.
And I've always and one of them is loving what you do. So no, I could only sell real estate because that's what I love.
Okay.
And that's a key factor in the five.
Well, while you're hot, mate, let's talk about. I was going to kind of save that to the second half because I do want to find out how Lynch Real Estate came to be and what you've done to stand out. We'll cover that later. Let's get straight in. So 5 key ingredients to be, because here's the thing, why I'm interested in chatting to you is because I think there's a lot of small business owners who, as soon as you say the word selling or sales, shrivel up, shrink, including me. You know, I think sometimes selling's hard because we're going to get rejected most of the time, right?
Yeah.
So you've got 5 things that are going to help us be better salespeople?
Yeah. I'm all about when... I've done a bit of training consultancy within the real estate industry over the years, and I always like to give people good take-home information.
Yeah, love it. That's what this show's about.
Yeah, and I've listened to your podcast, and
you're the one.
That's why I'm here, because I want to add to it.
Good.
You're the man, Tim.
You're the man. Not step one, but number one is you must absolutely, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but you must absolutely love what it is you are selling.
You've got to love. And you've got to know it. You've got to know the product and love the product. So you can relate this to anything, of course. But knowing it's one thing, but loving it's another. So you can answer any question on the spot. You talk with conviction, and I think 93% of communication's not through what you're saying. It's how you're saying it. It's your eyes. It's your whole energy. Yep. So people will pick up on something that if you don't love it, if you don't know it, obviously. Yeah. But that's certainly a key factor. But the second...
Can I just add to that there is a wonderful saying that goes something like, people forget what you said, people forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And if you love your product and you know it, people will pick up on that energy and you'll give that energy to them. And that's part of making a sale. Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of people that I've done consultancy for, they've got out of real estate. I've helped them. I've been paid for day consultancy in businesses over the years. And the director of the business at the end of the day said, Nicholas, thanks very much. Payment, what a magnificent day. You've helped me.
I'm out of here.
Decide to get out of real estate. Because deep down, they didn't love it. And, and I've shifted people with consultancy. Yeah.
So does that mean you go in with an intention of giving them the cold hard facts and possibly scaring them into making a decision as to whether it's right or wrong? Or?
Well, they want to learn how to be, a better closer. They want to learn how to, get more turnover. But I bring it right back to these 5 things, and the first one is you got to love it. Yeah. Now, if you don't love what you do, get out of it.
Get out of it.
Because life's too short.
Yep.
And you won't manifest and get a synchronicity happening within your business unless you love it.
Geez, buddy, we can't move on to point 2 yet because manifestation and synchronicity. You getting all spiritual on us, or what do you mean?
Well, a good way to look at it is...
And I know you like a bit of the spiritual stuff, so go there.
I have gone there, and we'll get there soon. if you want to get a strawberry ice cream,
Yeah.
you can get a few dollars out of your pocket. You can walk down, find an ice cream shop, and buy a strawberry ice cream.
Yep.
Synchronicity is where you want a strawberry ice cream, and Mr. Whippy comes past,
Right.
and there it is. It's right there for you.
Yeah.
So things manifest, things start to flow. People, you've heard of the saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yes.
But I think if you love what you do,
Uh-huh.
that's synchronicity. And synchronicity is the harder you work, the more you get. But it's not that. It's the more you love it, the more you're passionate about it. I think things start to happen. And I achieve huge results within the real estate industry, but I'm not actually trying. It's just all flows. And I never for one day worry about getting a result or is this going to happen. I know it's all happening because I've got these 5 things in place.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. I've got the 5. Are you interested?
Yeah, I am. And I'm finding it really hard to move past number 1 because I can relate that to my own business where I do a number of things. I podcast, I speak at conferences, I have my forum, I have a book that I promote, I have all these different things around marketing. I often ask myself, I wonder what would happen if I literally just immersed myself in podcasting and did nothing else, because that's my true love, right? It's absolutely the thing I love, and I think is that kind of what you were talking about, which is identifying that true love and falling into it, right?
Yeah. So I don't look at what I do as a job. Job is just over broke, JOB. I don't look at it as a career. I look at it as a lifestyle. So basically, I've retired. I love doing this, and it's not for the money. Someone gave me 100 million tomorrow and said, do whatever. I'd still do what I do.
I don't believe you.
It's 100%. I would still do what I'm doing.
Let me just get you 100 million. I've got 100 million out here. Okay.
It's in your pocket.
It's in my pocket.
It's true. And is it true? Absolutely.
It's a good test.
It's a good test. I love what I do because, what else would you do? Like, you need to be fulfilled. You need to.
I could think of a few things.
But you need to be inspired.
Yeah. Okay.
In life, I think being inspired is so important. Like in real estate, I'm privileged to meet a lot of very successful people, and some of them have hit retirement and
died.
And they're living, but they're not living. Because they've lost any inspiration. So, I think being inspired is being in spirit, and I think being, having a purpose. And I find that if you have a career that inspires you, that you love, it's really living to full potential. Yeah.
You're lucky enough. There's people listening here going, mongrel. Wish I could be like that.
Everyone can be.
Okay. I'm scared to ask how because it seems to be it could be a very long answer. But like you were lucky enough, you fell into real estate a long time ago. It was just, and you've grown to love it, or maybe it was just what you do love from the start.
I think you need to go back to when you were 10, 12, 13. I thought sales is something that I just connecting with people and making people feel good, and then I sort of came across real estate and then realised. So I think if you anyone listening, go back to when you were primary school, early high school, and before people conditioned you to what you had to do.
Wow.
Like I left school at the end of year 9. I got 99 out of 500. That's another story. I didn't want to be there. So I followed my passion. And there's a lot of people out there that had a passion back when they were young and never, for various reasons, followed it. But, take a risk.
How true is that?
Do your passion. And I've shifted people from real estate into all other different careers through them, and they're happier. And it's not about money. The money's and that's the thing. It's not about the money. There
seems to be a common link. All the successful business owners that I've interviewed, it isn't about the money, despite the fact that they've made a lot of money. They never set out to focus on the money. They set out to focus on something they love, and the money or the whatever they were hoping for came as a result. Right?
Yeah, it's a feeling. I'd rather have the feeling of being passionate and inspired and drive a Toyota Corolla.
I'd love to see you in a Toyota
No,
Corolla.
but if I was inspired with what I was doing and that's all I could afford, well, I'd rather that than being like
miserable in a Lamborghini.
Miserable in a Lamborghini, like, I've got to get this home, I don't like that, And there's a lot of people out there that focused on money, and it's all, it's sad, yeah.
So
So number one is loving what you do, and it's knowing it too. It's knowing the product. And if you love it, you'll know it. But the second thing is good intention.
Listeners, I'm talking to Nicholas Lynch of Nicholas Lynch Real Estate. Why he's here is because he just loves what he does, and he's a gun salesperson, and we're here to learn more about that. What is the second thing we need to do that, Nicholas?
And
he's
the
got
second I've got an agenda. Well, the second is it's intention, and it's having a great intention, having good intention. Now, for example, I saw a client yesterday. This client was happy to give me $10,000 to market their property. On referral, you are the agent. He's 2.2% commission, and it was a $3.5 million property. Now, I could have walked out of there with a listing, and let's get it sold before winter. I talked this client out of selling. I gave the reasons why I felt it was better for them to hold off, because I understood their needs, and that was the right thing to say. Now, I've had the mum ring me today, and she has said, you were the only decent human being in that industry. I'm actually selling a property in Red Hill for $7 million in spring. You have got my listing. I've never met you, and you've given my daughter the right advice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's having good intention.
True story?
It's a true story.
I've got to ask, mate. You're a real estate agent. I don't know whether you're telling me the truth or not.
That's why I succeed in real estate, because I've got good intention.
Good intention.
See, there's a lot of people that love real estate.
You can, okay, devil's advocate, you can afford that. You can afford to not get that business.
I've done it since I was 15. I've had good intention with it.
When you were driving the Toyota Corolla?
I had a bike.
Had a bike?
Oh, I was 15. Didn't have a license. Had a skateboard. But there's a lot of people that love real estate, and they know the product, but they haven't got good intention.
It's listing at all costs. At the cost of the buyer, at the cost of everyone's happiness, we're going to get you to sell.
And having good intention gives me an edge in the industry. And that's why I'm in the industry.
What does good intention feel like?
Well, it's talking from the heart. And it's being sincere with people. It's not doing it for the money. It's doing it because you really want to help someone, and you see them as a fellow human being. And
it's having them, the client, the prospect, 100% in mind. You're not thinking about, oh, hang on, Nicholas, in order to deliver on this month's KPIs, we really need this. You can't have that discussion. Just out of interest, why would you sell in the hot market that we are in right now? Why would you say to someone not to sell?
It was to do with her personal situation
okay.
and her tax position.
Right.
Yeah, if she was to make sell a property this financial year.
I'm getting a little bit emotional, buddy, because so far, step 1 and 2 to becoming a great salesperson is love and intention.
Yeah,
hey?
Yeah. Well,
loving it.
You see, salespeople say to me, what script, what dialogue, what do I need to wear, what do I need to look like?
Drive.
But unless you've got that love and that true intention, nothing else works.
Right.
Yeah. So that's obviously a couple of the key points that I've always found.
Okay. Next.
So the next is, and we're going.
I'm trying to get.
We're going deep. He's thinking.
Are we going deeper? Is it just? Are we stepping deeper and deeper?
We're going deeper.
Okay.
Because
you've got love. What's deeper than love?
Well, it's loving yourself.
Okay.
And it's
self-love.
It's self-love. It's loving yourself. It's loving where you are in life, who you're with. It's loving your position in the community. It's being at peace with yourself, and you need to be. No one's going to love you unless you love yourself, and no one's going to buy from you unless you love yourself, unless they've got a good feeling from you. So, if you're not happy in different parts of your life, what are the different walks of life? There's
health, marriage, finances.
Yep.
Health, marriage, finances, love, death, and taxes. Yeah.
If you're not happy in those areas, and you're not content, well, you're not going to sell anything. You're not going to sell anything, and that's part of the consultants that I've offered over the years. Has had people realise, until they get their own backyard in order, they're never going to be successful real estate salespeople.
See, I did not expect this conversation. I expected a great conversation, and I'm loving it, mate. I still don't know what your agenda is, but I will come to that. But you know, what's really interesting is that I always obviously think about who's listening to this, and I wonder whether they're turning off because they're hoping for how to write the great sales script, or how to get through the Doberman on a sales call, or what to wear. Yeah. Is that coming, or are we just
that's within 4 and 5. Yeah, I've got 5 points.
Okay, thank you. But okay, so
I think don't switch off, because here I am. What's good is I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. So I was 93 in Australia last year. This year I'm 89. That's over 60,000 registered salespeople in Australia.
And based on what?
That's in commissions earned.
Commissions earned.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've done 2.5 million in fees. That's personally. To be honest, I could do 5 million in fees, but
really?
I could, but you know what? It would mean too much. I want the balance. You know, it would mean not being able to do the other things I want to do.
Because you do work hard, and we'll talk about balance later.
When I'm at work, I'm at work.
You work your ring off.
And when I'm off work, I'm off work. I'm never at work when I'm off work, because I'm always at work when I'm at work.
Wow. Okay.
There's a lot of people off work when they're at work.
Yep.
So when they're off work.
Yeah, mate. I see. Yeah, well, the great thing about podcasting is you can rewind and play it again. So.
Yeah.
You with me?
So
love yourself.
You love yourself, and I think, you got to have your stuff sorted. You've got to know who you are. You've got to be honest to yourself, and you've got to be, in a space in a great space. Yeah, and then you can go out into that big wide world and sell, and you can that energy people can feel.
Right.
They can feel it.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot in those first 3 things: having good intention, having the love for what you're doing, but loving yourself. Now we're brought up, I love myself. We're brought up to say, you're up yourself, or
there's a bit of tall poppy there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's positive. I've got 3 boys, as you know, and I teach them to be passionate about whatever you do, and to love yourself, And I think, people don't exercise enough. People don't eat right. People don't think right. Most people's minds are in control of them. I'm big into meditation, because that enables me, my core, my spirit, to be in control of my mind, which a lot of people aren't. And that's what meditation is. It's controlling the mind to not, dictate what you do.
Again, there's people listening who
go too much,
but what did you say?
I won't go down there too
much.
No,
well, mate, I have actually. I've interviewed previously a guy who runs a meditation business, and I too am into it and love it. And yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Outside of doing exercise, I think meditation is one of those things that can change everything in a heartbeat too. By the way,
the key with meditation, I do active meditation, so I can do 2 things at once. So I run 5 kilometres every day. Every day, 5 kilometres, and within that 5 kilometres, which I do a 5k pace, 5-minute pace.
Yes.
So it's 25 minutes. So with that 25, I meditate when running. So it's running for 25 and it's meditating. So it's an active meditation. So it's just focusing on the breath and nothing else. But it's saying to my mind, I am in control. We are thinking about nothing but the breath and exercise.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it's a good discipline to do an activity.
It is. I do an open eye meditation. There's many forms of it. And, can you just tell us, I'm going to digress here, but you also, on each birthday, tell us about the run that you do.
I run the age that I am. Yeah. So this year's 48, so I'll run 48k. And I think people in life.
You're looking forward to your 80th?
I can't wait. But people, I'm looking forward to my 120.
Right.
People are too serious.
Yeah.
And I'm all for adventure.
Yeah.
And I think, just tapping into number 3 a bit more, loving yourself.
Yeah.
People don't have enough adventure in their life. And I think, the internet, and you can sort of live adventure through other people too easily. I think it's so important to live adventure in the present. And I think Yeah, so there's a lot within.
Do you mean by adventure taking off and climbing a mountain, or
It's
whatever you
going
want
to a live game of sport, not just watching it on telly.
Gotcha.
It's running your age for your birthday. Like, I'm in for a good belly laugh, you know? And people are too serious. So I think if you love yourself, you can laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah,
You've got a weird laugh too. We must try and get more of that before the event. It's more of a squawk.
Yeah. So I talked about my results earlier because I'm not just talking, I'm walking it.
Yep.
And I've got a great sales team of 8 people, and I love. Part of a challenge I've got is to embrace this on a daily to my team, so that they live
and
a
so
better life.
this philosophy, which is essentially what you are sharing, this life and business philosophy, is something that you actively kind of trigger parts of every day, right? It's just part of what you do.
Yeah.
You know, you may see one of your sales team kind of moping around. You know, what can I do to kind of
Well, let's look at these 5 areas, and
right.
like I know they love the business, otherwise they wouldn't work with me, and they know the product, but you know, where they at personally, and I think that's certainly something that. So,
love what you do, have great intention, have self-love. What's the 4th thing to being a great salesperson?
The 4th is it's building trust and rapport before you go to the close. So trust and rapport is so important. Now, last week I was with a client relating it to real estate, and I listened to their 51 trips that they've done on cruise liners. I'm not a big fan of cruise liners, too.
I'm not.
I like the Titanic, that film.
Yeah, it was a great film. If you do see me on a cruise,
it's not my thing. But I think you've got to love people. Like, some people don't like people. They'd rather just, it's too hard. But you've got to be a people person, and you've got to love people. And as much as I don't like cruise liners, it was interesting to find out about it. And we had a lot of photo albums out over the lounge room floor. So I hadn't even looked around their property. I hadn't appraised it. I just started asking questions, and that's the key. It's I've got question after question after question about people, about their past, about their present, about their future, about people. Now,
do you have these questions? Is this a list that you have, a script that you
I've
have?
Just got it.
You've got it.
I've got it. And
show interest.
Well, it's about having good intention. It's those top 3. If they're in place and you sit with someone, it doesn't matter if you're selling real estate or selling a car or whatever you're selling.
Yeah.
If you connect in and want to know about them, it's not about finding out their past experiences in real estate. It's finding out about them and just constantly asking questions. Now, these people, as much as I'm not into cruise liners, I'd hate to go on one. I'd be claustrophobic. It was really interesting, and it was. You know what was interesting? These people were becoming inspired, but they were reliving these trips, and there was some funny stories, and I was there for 2 hours. Now, my assistants, they go, oh God, it takes you 2.5 hours to get a listing. Well, no. It takes me 2 hours to build rapport, and then I say, now my fee's 2.2, it's going to cost 10 grand in marketing, you're going to get around 2 mil, let's get the ball rolling.
Where
do we sign?
Yeah, that's 1 minute. Well, that actually was about 20 seconds.
Yeah. Then I hate filling out the paper.
Yeah.
It takes half an hour. No, you know. So, but it's people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and I think we're dealing with human beings here. We're not dealing with a buyer, with a seller, with a vendor. You know, it's really finding out what makes them tick. And it's building trust and it's building rapport. And that is something that whether I'm with a buyer or a seller in real estate, I'm interested in it. I've got good intention in it because you learn. Like, I don't need to go on a cruise liner now because I've been on 51. I've seen I've lived it, relived it with these people. Yeah. So the 5th is closing.
Just hold that.
Yeah.
Go back to the 4th. It's really interesting that the fellow who I interviewed before you is a digital nomad. He lives a nomadic lifestyle, runs a serious consulting business, has no fixed address. When I interviewed him, was in a tent on Rockhampton Beach overlooking Dunk Island. And he particularly had to work hard at establishing rapport because I said to him, you know, like, mate, you are doing business with people all over the world in shorts and a singlet. In fact, his business is called Barefoot in Business. So that, you know, he's got to work particularly hard, and I think I don't know whether enough business owners put enough emphasis on that building trust and rapport.
Yeah.
And for you, it's simply getting to know your client, your prospect, asking questions, showing interest. It's about them, not you.
Yeah, it's about them, and get them talking, and that in turn builds trust and rapport. But it's, even though I'm not into, it's a good example of cruise line.
Yeah,
I
it's
hate
great.
the idea of it, but I still ask the questions because you learn. You learn something about something, and I probably don't not like it as much as I did, but I still wouldn't go.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
5.
The 5th is about closing.
You love the close, don't you?
And I am a magnificent closer. ABC, always be closing. Now, there's Louis Labradors out there, and there's disciplined Dobermans. I'm a disciplined Doberman. Now, you cannot, unless you've got those top 4 in place, you
Right.
cannot effectively close.
Okay.
Now, most people are warped doors, Tim.
Yeah?
They're warped doors.
What do you mean?
A warped door. They can't close.
We got a drum sound effect.
Because closing is about process, it's about script dialogue, but it's more importantly about process, and it's about going through the doors in the right order. So I've got a selling process to get a listing, because my sale in real estate is twofold. One, it's to get the listing over the other agents. They consider 3 agents. We want to win that.
You got to get that.
Secondly, it's a sale to have the buyer buy the property and get the best price. So we've got a process, and we've got the doors that you go through on the listing as well as the sale side. Now, for people out there that have a product, you need to have a process that you implement, and that your people understand, and that you role play, you PDR, you practice, drill, rehearse that. We have an hour and a half of practice, drill, rehearse, role play. We don't do it in a big group because people get intimidated. We have buzz groups. So we all go off into 5 different areas, and we role play in pairs, and then we come back and have a group chat about what we did right, what we did wrong. And that is every week. Because
Wow.
you cannot practice, drill, rehearse enough. I'm not going to practice on a client, I'm going to practice on my colleague, and you can always get better. You always forget the basics and everything else. So, but this process is about going through doors, and the door won't close if you're trying to close something before you should have closed something else. For example,
can I just understand this? Is this a lot of what we've spoken about is emotional, philosophical. Is this now a rational, literally?
Yeah.
You've got to get this form signed before this, or is it? We've got to talk about the commission before we can talk about the price. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's rational.
Yeah, it is. And so, look, here I am with a vendor who obviously can sense my good intention, and they see I love what I do, I know about what I do, they can see I'm confident with myself, but it's an energy thing. They can feel those first 3 we talked about. I've got the trust through asking question after question, and I've got good intention with those questions. So it's not like I'm just, if you can't constantly have, it's so easy to get someone talking about themselves.
Of course.
And
I'm doing it right now.
yeah, exactly. But to then, you need to have that process, that structure, and I call it going through the doors. And you can have a series of doors that, the first door is, when going for a listing, the first door is, if you like, building the trust and rapport. So there's no point in closing for the advertising campaign unless you've got that door closed. The door won't close if you're trying to close something in the wrong order. Like you're not going to close on advertising if you haven't won their trust.
Gotcha.
We'll think about it. You're not going to close on the fee you want if you haven't closed the things you should have earlier.
I love the way you think about it, a series of doors. A bit like Get Smart, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And it's going through the door. Now, if that door won't close, I say, well, you're a warped door. You haven't closed. It's not the client. It's you. So the first door is trust and rapport with a vendor, and then the next door is you've got to give them your opinion of value on that property. Like, there's no point in trying to sell your fee if you haven't told them what the opinion of value is, because they're going to be thinking, well, but what does he think it's worth? What does he think it's worth? So you've got to, like, I'm just relating this to real estate. You've got to relate it to your business. What are the doors you have to close to make the sale of your product? That's the question I'm putting to people listening. What are the doors you have to close to make the sale of your product? Now,
Yeah.
you know, brainstorm it, workshop it with your team, and then what is the order of those doors? Now, you know, I know I've got to sell trust and rapport, and that's the first door for all of us. But then I've got to give a comparative market analysis, and I've got to have the person understand that similar properties have sold for X, and for them to see that I'm knowledgeable, and that's something you need to get out of the way. Now, if a vendor wants more, bring it on. If it's out there, I'll get it. But they want to know their CMA. Then I close my fee. A lot of salespeople leave the hardest door till the end, when I get it out straight away. So, you know, it's important to say now my fee's 2.2, and I want to give you case studies and you know what? Stories. Number 5, closing. You've got to talk stories. Now, the feel, felt, found close is gold. Now, I actually perfected this when I was younger at the 21st Century nightclub.
I love it.
I understand how you
This
feel.
is a nightclub in dirty downtown Frankston, an interesting suburb of Victoria.
Yeah.
Feel,
Felt, found. I understand how you feel. Mary felt the same way. What she found, so feel, felt, found. So you can have a bit of fun when you're younger, because
hang on,
I learnt
you've got to
this-
go through it and call Mary Donna, because I think Donna would have been a more appropriate name down there at that time.
But if you know, I'm all for as much training and as much, you know, information as I can get, and I learnt this when I was 15.
I haven't quite, it hasn't quite dropped for me. Feel,
Feel, felt, found.
feel, felt, found.
Well, your feelings having it's you're relating to them. You understand how you feel.
Yep.
Okay. So if a vendor,
Okay.
rather than
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to the,
I know where you're at. I know where you're at.
Yeah, I want to be trying to keep it serious.
Yeah.
You can imagine what
Don't.
you imagine what it'd be like with picking up a girl. Anyway, so
Let's do that one. It doesn't have to be about real estate. So
I-
I'm the girl. Come on,
wanna
I'll
be-
play.
I want to be serious.
My name is Donna.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if it's about objections, isn't it? And that's what closing. You've got to make sure you can close. So you've got to understand how you feel.
I think you're a real scallywag, Nicholas. I don't
Yeah.
really want to go any further with you.
Yeah, I understand how you feel. Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Then I don't want to talk about the girl. I want to try and keep it
Oh,
serious.
you are
No, I want to
kidding,
keep it serious
don't
because
you?
I want people to see it as a
Is
serious.
that your agenda? That you're trying to portray a serious
I am,
Nicholas
I am,
Lynch? You
yeah.
are, mate. Yeah.
But with it's an important part of the closing, so I don't want people to think it's just.
Okay, I'm selling the house.
It's I understand how you feel if someone's not wanting to pay 2.2%. I understand how you feel because that is the highest fee that people pay. You feel that it's too much.
Yeah, it is, mate. I've had quotes at 1.8.
Okay. Well, the Murrays felt exactly the same way 2 months ago. Now here's a brochure.
He's an alcoholic.
Here's a brochure on the Murray's place. They felt the same way as you did about 2.2. What they found was that 2.2 actually earned them another 250,000 approximately to what they would have accepted. So understand how you feel. This client felt the same, but what they found.
Oh, yeah, right.
So feel, felt, found is just a
Nice.
way of introducing a story,
Mm-hmm.
but it's bringing them in, because great closers don't push. Great closers lead people.
Yeah,
So
right.
I'm about leading people and having them close themselves. So feel, felt, found is a way of doing that. So within your business, my team, we've got stories, and we use feel, felt, found to bring them in.
And do you actually, because this is interesting, we have a lot of story discussion on this show, and do you actively seek out those stories and they become what I would call key messages in your business so that all the different staff know them and can, I'm going to pull that one off the shelf now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we share each other's stories because we're a team. So in closing, you've got to have the doors that you know you've got to close. You've got to do them in the right order. You've got to have stories, and you've got to work towards getting that okay. So I never use contract. I never use authority. I never use sign. I use paperwork. I use okay. I never cross where that they sign. I do a tick.
Yeah.
You know, so it's those golden oldies of great salespeople.
Yeah.
You know, Tom Hopkins is a top real estate lecturer. Have you heard of him? He's in the States, and I learned a lot from him when I started. So just back to real estate, 2.2%. Understanding your feel, they felt the same way. This is what they found, and I will give a story, but then I'll say, now, based on that, are you happy? Are you comfortable moving forward with me as your agent at 2.2%? And there's other things we need to discuss, but are you comfortable to pay 2.2 to me? Nicholas, I still want to think about. Okay, well, I need to tell you about this result, and
story.
But it's I go into the stories elaborate. I have them see it. I have them see the, you know, we put this property up. We had 6 people to a preview. We had over 50 groups to the open for inspection. We then had 7 offers come in.
Right.
The owner would have accepted.
Story.
The owner would have accepted this, but I ended up getting more from the buyer. The owner said, "Don't lose them." I said, "The lacquer band, I won't let it snap. I won't let the lacquer band snap." But that's what I
tell me.
And that's a great line for a client to know. All my sellers know the lacquer band, and they know I'm going to stretch it, but I'm not going to let it snap.
Yeah, right.
Because there are some salespeople that the
push too hard, pull too hard.
They pull too hard too quick. Yeah. But there's some that don't even pull.
Yeah, right.
They just go through the motions.
Finish up with a little.
You get what you pay for.
There's a wonderful thing that you told me many months ago about the speed wobble. I've always liked this story. There's a little strategy of yours.
The speed wobble, we can relate it in any, and that's all part of this closing. It's all part of closing.
Yeah.
So when dealing with a buyer, it's like a discovery price. So if recent sales have been around 1.5, I'll say to a buyer, would you pay 1.8 million? Now, there's nothing illegal, unethical about that. It's saying, well, what would you pay? Because it's a rising market, and if you want to win the property, take the blinkers off to what you might pay for it to hopefully knock out the other competition. And you know, it's having people think big.
And it's the speed wobble because as a kid we'd ride down the hill on the bike, get the wobbles, and half of you is going, how good's this? The other half is going, I'm dead.
Everyone's had a speed wobble on a bike. Everyone's been on a bike at one point in their life and had a speed wobble where you feel, whoa, I've got to slow up a little bit here, and I know the boundaries of riding a bike. That's the look someone gives you when you give them the speed wobble. So you can speed wobble in any. It's a form of bracketing. You know, it's like if you want, like, just talk numbers. If you want 5, you speed wobble at 10.
Yeah, right.
To get 5.
Yeah.
Like you don't just go in and out. Bracketing is obviously another form of closing. So, you know, I can talk about found. I can talk about bracketing. I can talk about speed wobble. All these techniques, which is number 5. And that's probably what you thought I was going to talk about.
Totally.
Only today.
Totally.
But it doesn't matter. And this is the key. It doesn't matter how well scripted, how well dialogued, how well trained, how well
expensive your suit is.
It doesn't matter about all that. If you don't have good intention, if you don't love what you do, if you don't love yourself, and if you don't win people's trust, nothing's going to happen. And that's what I think people need to look at, those top 4. I think they've already got number 5 sorted. Yeah,
okay. Nicholas, I need to close this interview. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. I felt at the start we were going in a direction I wasn't expecting to go, but I found that you really covered some interesting topics that I would never have expected a bloke like you, who's got his Lamborghini out the front, to have covered. So thanks, buddy, for sharing, and hopefully what you have shared is about to change the way small business owners all over the world view selling.
Fantastic. Thank you. Love the opportunity.
Oh, and by the way, your agenda, did we cover it?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that were the 5 things.
Okay. There was an ulterior motive. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, cool.
Love it. We're done.
I hope that's right, Tim.
Oh yes, I think it was all right, Nicholas. I think we might have. Let me just go through here. Yes.
Well, I thought if you asked me questions like you did at the start, I thought I'm you know, I rather.
Stuffed.
Yeah. I knew that because that's happened to me before.
Yeah, right.
In these things, so I've learnt that if I just
stick to an agenda.
I hope.
No, mate, it was great. I mean, I was actually going to talk about Nicholas Lynch real estate and talk about how you've built that, but I think that is how you build it, through a smart selling process.
And that's why I thought I can talk about rah, and a lot of these things are that, like a lot of training and you know, people. You think well,
before you we'll just say goodbye to anyone who is on Facebook Live. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and hope you learned something.
Vodka's quite good.
There is good vodka here. Yeah, you can flick that up, Steve.
So